When the Columbus aircraft landed on the coast of the New World, the locals thought they had seen something completely new in the sky. The Native Americans were amazed by the huge aircraft and the colorful clothes of the two men who had 2 legs and arms. Everything was new to them. They boarded the aircraft with innocence. One of the locals shared his love with Columbus. It took him a long time to realize that Columbus and his companions were enemies of his freedom. What did Columbus do to the New World and its innocent people? Why did Columbus think that all the stories of Marco Polo were lies? My name is AK, and in the 3rd episode of the History of America, we will explore all of this. This is San Salvador Island, part of the scattered islands of the United States. This is the historic island where Columbus's ship landed on October 12, 1492. San Salvador is a small island, 21 kilometers long and wide. The Native Americans called this island Guanahani. The name Guanahani was given to an animal called iguana, which is now extinct. The island was full of forests, salt lakes, and small mountains. Today, it is part of the Bahamas and is mostly inhabited. In 1492, when Columbus's ships were reaching the coast, the people on the island saw them from afar. This news spread quickly, and the island's people gathered to see the ships. Some jumped into the sea, and others boarded the ships. The locals were as happy as children, reacting as if they had seen something come down from the sky. They were used to a simple life, living in grass huts and wearing simple clothes. They grew corn for food. The sight of Columbus's sea vessels was a great spectacle for them. When Columbus came ashore, the locals welcomed him warmly. Columbus spent some time on the land and then returned to his ship. A few days later, Columbus and his companions took their ships back to the sea. They sailed along the island's coast and headed north. By that time, all the island's people knew about the arrival of these foreign guests. They welcomed them with their families and brought food. They even gave them colorful parrots as gifts. Columbus and his friends gave them red caps and bells in return. The Native Americans were amazed by the sound of the bell and delighted to hear it. The island's atmosphere was friendly, and the locals approached Columbus with curiosity. However, Columbus saw something different. He noticed that the islanders were simple people. They had no elaborate clothes, palaces, or significant places of worship. But some of them wore gold ornaments in their noses. Columbus thought he had reached the island of Cipango, Japan, mentioned by Marco Polo. Marco Polo wrote about a group of small islands near Cipango. Columbus had embarked on his journey to discover the western route to Japan and China based on this idea. So, Columbus spent very little time on San Salvador and planned to move forward. Before going to Cipango, he tried to gather as much gold as possible from the locals. It was easy for him to get gold because he noted in his diary that the people he saw were naked, without weapons, and knew nothing about war. He believed he could control them with only 50 men. The locals were so innocent and generous that they would give anything if asked. Columbus and his friends took advantage of their simplicity and searched their homes for gold. They turned their belongings upside down, looking for treasures. The Native Americans saw them doing this but didn't understand what they wanted. After a few days, Columbus realized there wasn't much gold on the island, so he decided to go to Japan. He took some islanders and imprisoned them on his ship to use as guides. With their help, he hoped to find the small islands Marco Polo had mentioned. The guides misunderstood Columbus and led him to a nearby big island, which is now known as Cuba. Columbus thought he was nearing Japan. When he reached Cuba on October 28, 1492, he didn't find any gold. He believed he had reached China and began searching for its great cities, as described by Marco Polo. But soon he realized that he wasn't in China, Japan, or near any golden palaces. Instead, he found gold in the locals' nose and ear ornaments. Columbus was shocked and frustrated. He wondered if Marco Polo had lied about the wealth of these lands. On December 5th, he started searching for a famous Chinese city known as Zaitun, modern Quanzhou. While traveling along the Cuban coast, strong winds blew his ship to another island about 100 kilometers away from Cuba. On December 6th, Columbus arrived at this island, which he named Hispaniola, present-day Haiti and the Dominican Republic. The arrival of Columbus marked the beginning of the destruction of Native Americans. Some historians refer to this as the American Holocaust. When Columbus arrived, the island was home to around 800,000 people of the Arawak race. These people welcomed Columbus warmly, similar to the people of San Salvador. Columbus thought he had found Chipango, or a place rich in gold. He believed Hispaniola was connected to the biblical land of Sheba, ruled by Solomon. He thought the area should be rich in gold, as described in the Bible. Columbus and his friends saw small golden shining particles in the island's rivers. A local leader even presented Columbus with a gold mask, which made Columbus believe the locals were hiding more gold from him. Interestingly, today's Hispaniola is rich in minerals, with gold, silver, and copper reserves worth billions of dollars. But at that time, Columbus didn't know about this. The mining techniques were not advanced enough to extract the gold. Columbus decided to return to Spain and bring more troops to search the island thoroughly. Columbus had some conflicts with the locals. At one point, his men killed 2 locals because they refused to give them weapons. These incidents were isolated, and there were no major conflicts with the Native Americans. Columbus marked Hispaniola as an island rich in gold and decided to establish a base before returning to Spain. He wanted to leave some men behind to continue the search for gold. Columbus's men dismantled their ship to build a small fort called Fort Navidad. Columbus left 39 men there with strict instructions to find gold. Columbus's ship set sail back to Spain in January 1493. On the way, he forced some Native Americans to become slaves, keeping them in harsh conditions on the ship, leading to many deaths. Columbus took enough gold back to Spain to convince his opponents that he had found a new route to Asia and that the land was rich in gold. The Spanish rulers believed Columbus and gave him the title of Admiral of the Sea. Columbus became a celebrated figure, but some people also made fun of him. The exploration led by Columbus resulted in the death of millions of Native Americans. How did these people, unaware of war, fight against dangerous weapons? What were the accusations against Columbus? How did he spend his last days? We will explore all of this in the next episode of the History of America.